Hi, and welcome to another episode of Office Arcade. If you saw my video for the Vistrix Fight Stick, you know that this is my favorite joystick-based arcade stick on the market right now. The aluminum body, amazing. The enclosure and ability to swap things out, amazing. Just the high-quality build of this thing, amazing. Absolutely worth every penny, especially compared to all the popular plastic options out there, like the razors and the Mad Cat sticks. Like, this thing is hands down the best one if you're looking for one with a joystick. But if you watched my review for the Snackbox Micro, I said that this is my second favorite stick. And believe it or not, that Vistrix I just showed you, that's now my third favorite stick. I really am enjoying these all-button controllers. So you might be wondering what my favorite all-button controller is then. And it's actually the MPress from Paradise Arcade Shop. So immediately you're gonna notice some pretty big differences here. So I was talking about button size on the Hitbox and the Snackbox Micro and why it causes some issues for me. But here you have your standard Sanwas, right? Now if you look at the Snackbox Micro by comparison, these buttons are teeny tiny, right? The thumb button is the only full-size standard button and the rest are tiny. And the Hitbox is the exact same way. They're using smaller buttons for inputs, which for me is not super comfortable. Not a big fan of those little buttons. And MPress came along and they made a layout with all full-size buttons. So the jump button here is not a small button. It is one of those big buttons, but every single other button is also big. So this thing's amazing. It solves the form factor button issue that I had with the Snackbox Micro and the Hitbox. The Snackbox Micro, it's very thin, which is nice. You can kind of rest your hands on a table, but it's not super comfortable gaming on your lap. So what's really nice about the MPress as well is they didn't go super wide and narrow like the Hitbox so that your hand's not sitting on the edge. You actually have a place to rest your palm. But they kept it nice and narrow. So it's a little bit wider than the Snackbox Micro, but much longer than a Hitbox, which this form factor I love. For playing at tournaments on my lap and at locals, this has been very, very comfortable. I forget exactly which Brook board they use as well, but this one is compatible with all systems, like PlayStation 2, I think it is, all the way up to now, Xbox, PS5, PS4, Xbox One, which is kind of difficult to get compatibilities to, for Nintendo Switch. You can use it with everything, whereas this one is much more limited. It's PS4, PS5, I think Series X, but not Xbox One. Like, I couldn't play Killer Instinct on this at Combo Breaker. So this one I would definitely check to make sure it's compatible with whatever you're looking to play before you pick it up. But this one's compatible with freaking everything. It is amazing. It also looks really cool. So I got the limited edition Combo Breaker edition. So you can see that it's got this like brick embossing on the inside. And then it's just got a bunch of like custom Combo Breaker stuff. The only issue that I'm not sure you'll be able to see is, I mean, there's little fingerprints on it, but you can't really see them in person too bad. But you can, oh, there you go. You can see a fur. So this thing is completely sealed. The button encasement is separate from the decal encasement on the inside, but somehow fur got in there still. I don't know how to get it out. That's the only thing that super annoys me about this. And I might contact Paradise Arcade Shop to be like, hey, how do I safely open this sucker to get some furs out of it? But otherwise, this thing's amazing. The form factor on it's great. The looks and aesthetic of it are amazing. Where this feels like a good quality build, it's still very light and comparatively feels a lot cheaper than this. Like, this thing is almost as heavy as the Vistrix. Like, whatever plastic they're using to kind of clamp all the components inside, amazing. And as you can see here, they're Cherry MX Reds. So it's the same good quality keyboard switches like you have in the Snackbox Micro, which in that review you heard me talk about some of the advantages of using keyboard switches over arcade switches. So with these all-button controllers, I definitely prefer keyboard switches to arcade switches. In form factor, in like thoughtfulness of design, in full-size button layout, this is hands down my favorite stick that is out there right now. If you're thinking about an all button controller, and I had to rank the big three, I'd say MPress is number one. Snackbox Micro is really nice, very good portable stick if you're looking for something small. And then I'd say Hitbox is actually number three. It doesn't seem like they've evolved much on the original design to keep up with the innovations that some of their competitors are doing. Still an awesome stick. Not saying you shouldn't get one if you like it, but definitely prefer these other two to it. And here's a little close-up of this really beautiful stick. It also has this really cool back to it, kind of the theme of the Midwest. And then one complaint I did have about the Snackbox Micro that the MPress does share is for these top buttons, your like touchpad start and all that stuff, everything's unlabeled. So it's a little bit tricky to know what you're doing. You have to just kind of like connect to a console and trial and error and figure out, you know, what's what up there. But again, otherwise, this thing's perfect. This is my favorite stick on the market. Number two would be the Snackbox Micro. Number three would be that Vistrix. And let me show you this in action for a little bit. So right off the bat, you can see here that the MPress is a little bit more simplistic. It doesn't have all the LEDs like the Snackbox Micro, but for me, again, I don't really care about that too much. It does have a USB-C input, which was a little complaint I had for the Snackbox Micro, which some of them have micro USB. And again, just to compare form factor here, you can see that it's much bigger than the Snackbox Micro. So if you want something really small, this thing's great. Otherwise, I'd say this and like this acrylic, it just feels so good. It's so well built. It's an amazing lap stick. And then the Hitbox is even wider than this, but narrow. And it's just a strange design that I'm hoping Hitbox will kind of evolve from now that they're seeing these other form factors come out from their competitors. All right, so let's see this thing in action. Again, these are full-size buttons, same switches. So it feels just as good as the Snackbox Micro. After getting used to the concave buttons on the Snackbox Micro, it felt a little weird going back to the convex buttons, but you know, again, it didn't make too much of a difference for me. If anything, it just shortens the kind of like activation range that you got. Kind of going into those inputs again, so this is a charge character. I did a bigger breakdown in the Snackbox Micro video of those inputs. We'll do a quick overview here. So when you go back forward, back gets priority. So if I'm walking and I press back twice, it'll register a dash because back takes priority over forward. But if I press forward while holding back, it does not take priority. So you can see that in the inputs, it's registering just down and back. So if I hold back and press, you know, forward punch, nothing comes out. So you actually do have to release back and then press forward and punch to get your forward attack or forward and kick, depending what character you're playing. But the really cool thing is up takes priority over down. So you see I'm pressing jump while holding down and I'm still jumping. So what's cool about that is if you're in crouch block, you can instantly do a down up by tapping jump and whatever input you need to for your instant down up, and EX just as easy. You do have to practice hitting buttons at the same time a little bit when you're transitioning, but you know, once you get the hang of it, it's super easy to get it every time. So for charge it characters, it's an insane shortcut. It's so easy to buffer charge moves that honestly, I think Hitbox style joysticks or all button joysticks are probably the best choice for charge characters right now. So where things get a little more controversial is with Shotos, and I think it's because getting those input rights right and the timing on those input right is a little trickier. So quick recap again is if you go too fast with your buttons, your stuff might not come out. Because, so we'll do tiger knee because that's kind of the most offending example. When you do a tiger knee, if you don't get your down forward motion in or your forward, if you skip either input by accident, by inputting it too fast, the tiger knee doesn't come out. So there I just got a fireball, or sometimes you get an empty jump punch like that, right? When you input really fast. If you go slower with the input, you're gonna get your tiger knee. So if you go slow enough, your tiger knee motion goes through correctly. So you always have to kind of imagine it's a joystick, and look at your inputs and make sure you're registering all parts of the rotation like you see here. And getting that timing down, those kind of like slower inputs, was a bit tricky. This is one of the harder links on a stick, but on an all button controller, it's a piece of cake. So you can see that 2 hit there. And that was a half circle, so I was going through this entire rotation here. But like once you get the hang of it, the motions are very easy. But the really insane shortcuts, and I realized in my Snackbox micro video I forgot to show one, are DP shortcuts. So I showed that you can do forward, down, forward real quick to get a DP. So forward, down, forward, DP. You can also do walk and then press down and get an instant DP. So if you're walking up on their enemy and they jump in, DP. The other one that I forgot to share is while you're crouching, you can literally just tap forward twice. So if you're like in crouch block and they jump in, you let go of back, because again, back gets priority over forward, so you can't hold crouch block and tap forward because you won't get your DP. But if they jump in on you, you just let go of back and double tap forward and you get your DP right away, which is just insane. Like the DP shortcuts on this thing are amazing. It's impressive how easy it makes it. Quarter circle motions, piece of cake. Again, makes doing links super easy. So yeah, if you're just getting into fighting games and you're trying to figure out which controllers to sync time into, I mean, joysticks are the classic, and again, the best one on the market if you want to stick is a Vistrix. But that said, if you're just getting into fighting games, you don't have any habits you're trying to break, or you want to learn something new, these all button controllers are next level. And I would argue that the MPress one, from a compatibility perspective and a build quality perspective and a form factor perspective, so all of the above, I would argue that this is the best stick that you can get if you're getting into fighting games now. The second best, which I still love as my traveling stick, is the Snackbox Micro. So you can't really go wrong with either. So I'd say, you know, think about button size and form factor and what you think is going to be more appealing to you in your hands. Or if you can try both before you buy. But this is definitely a fantastic traveling stick, an alternative to the MPress if you can't fit it wherever you're traveling. But in terms of just like the raw best stick that I think you can get for fighting games right now, it is this MPress from Paradise Arcade Shop.